In this day and age, building things with code is often commonplace. We're often automating the things that we do. We're making it easier to be able to manage our infrastructures, whether that be on-prem or whether it be in the cloud in Microsoft Azure. I'm Michael Bender. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft, and today we're going to be talking about using PowerShell in the cloud with Azure Cloud Shell. So, what is Azure Cloud Shell? So what is Azure Cloud Shell? So Azure Cloud Shell is a browser-accessible command line interface that you can use to manage your Azure resource. What's great about it is authenticated and secure access. So you need to authenticate it with an account that can use resources inside of Azure. We can use Bash or PowerShell. So no matter which language you like to work with, both of them are available for use. Like we said, it's private, it's secure, and we have multiple points of entry. You can use an app, the Azure app on iOS. We see here we can use Bash and PowerShell. You can use it through the Azure portal and also through azure.shell.com. So let's go ahead and jump into our demo where we're going to be exploring the shell with Azure Cloud Shell. To access Azure Cloud Shell, there's a number of different ways that we can do it. The first way, we can go into the Azure portal. I can click on Cloud Shell, and that'll open up a window within my browser. And see, it says, "Welcome to Azure Cloud Shell," because this is my first time connecting in with this session. I can also go over to shell.azure.com and perform the same task. I choose my subscription. When it goes in, it's going to give me the same window. So I'm going to choose PowerShell. Then I'm going to choose the subscription that I'm going to work with. I'm going to choose my personal subscription. I'm going to go to the advanced settings, because what the advanced settings allows me to do is it allows me to choose, do I want to use an existing resource or create a resource group? Do I want to use an existing storage account or create a storage account? If this is your first time, you're going to create a new storage account, a new file share, and probably a new resource group. For me, I'm going to go in and I'm going to use an existing resource group. And then I'm also going to use an existing file share. And then I'm going to go to, and I'm going to choose an existing file share. So I'll put the name of my existing file share. I'll click Attach Storage. And now it's going through, it's created my cloud drive. It's initializing my account for a Cloud Shell. And this takes a few moments to get all running up. Basically, what's happening is it's requesting a shell for me to use, and that is a Linux container that's running in Azure that when you go to access Azure Cloud Shell, it spins that up, and it connects it to your storage, and then you're good to go. So once we're finished authenticating, then we'll be able to go in and actually start using Azure Cloud Shell. So before we jump into there, I want to show you a couple of different things. So if we go to the drop down here, notice I can choose PowerShell or Bash. I'm going to work with PowerShell, but if you wanted to go and use Bash, you could initialize that, and that'll spin up a brand new container for you. If you want to restart your session, you can do that through Restart. If you have questions or want to work with the settings, such as the text size or the font size, we're going to change the font size to medium here. If I want to upload or download files, I can do that through here. I can also manage my file share, and that'll open up the portal for me. If I want to open up a brand new session, I can. I can also open up an editor to use. So I can use the code editor in here. So as you can see, when you're logged in here, it's going to show you a couple things. You can see that if you want to use Azure CLI, you can type in AZ for the commands there. If you need help, just like you do in PowerShell, you can simply type help, and it'll give you help for Cloud Shell. It'll also, every time you log in, it'll give you a suggestion of what to do. So this tells you how to save persistent files across all of your sessions by putting those into Cloud Drive inside your home session. Next, we're going to take a look at finding commands in PowerShell and Azure Cloud Shell. Now let's take a look at finding different commands in Cloud Shell. So first we're going to take a look at the built-in utilities. So I'm going to do get-command and look for the PS Cloud Shell utility. And that'll bring back all of the commands that are built-in utilities inside of Cloud Shell. So there's things for remoting, for enter virtual machines, and a number of informational commands. So let's use one of those informational commands. When I type in get-az command, what that's going to do is that's going to bring back a whole huge list of all of the commands that are available for me to work within Azure Cloud Shell. So they're all of the Azure commands that are available to work with my resources for things like storage, network, compute, SQL, bunch of different things. Let's say you need to work with Azure AD. We have you covered there as well. So if I do get-command and I wildcard Azure AD, what that's going to bring back for me is it's going to bring back a huge list of all of the Azure AD commands that are available for you to use to manage your Azure AD resources. So even though that's in preview, it's still available for you to use. So let's take a look at one of those commands, a get-az-VM. So if I take a look at the help for get-az-VM, it's going to open up the help just like I would see in PowerShell, and I can skip through this. I can see all of the different parameters. It's going to give me some examples of how to use this, all of the same built-in help. So once I get to the end, notice it's going to say Q to quit. So if I do Q, it brings me back out to that window. So that Q is very important because we don't have that on-premises PowerShell. So let's explore that command a little bit more. Let's do a get-az-VM, and that'll pull the Azure virtual machines for me. So I see I have 4 virtual machines available. Let's say I want to see what virtual machines are available in a specific resource group. In this case, the Azure Cloud Shell Demo resource group. I simply use the resource group name parameter. I can also search based on wildcard for the name for a VM. So let's look for the VMs that have Linux in the name. You see it brings back 2 Linux virtual machines for me. And then if I want to dive into one of those specific VMs, I can simply call it straight out by its name. I'll put it into a format -list, and it gives me the listing of all of the properties that are available for that. And that's just a little bit of working with finding commands. Now let's take a look at Azure Drive. So what Azure Drive is Azure Drive is a way for us to be able to view our resources in Azure in a file system structure. So it uses ships for that, or show hierarchy in PowerShell, which allows us to be able to see different things that aren't based on a file structure in a file structure format. So if we do a directory listing here, we see that it brings up all of the subscriptions, and now I can drill down into those subscriptions. So I'm going to drill down into my personal subscription, and then I can do a change directory. I can go into the virtual machines underneath of there, and you'll see it will list for me, when I do a directory listing, all of the virtual machines that I have available inside my subscription. And then I can do a get-az-VM, and I can call the virtual machine name directly. And notice I don't have to put in the resource group because I am literally in that directory. So it knows that it's looking for the resources inside of that directory. So it brings up that virtual machine for me. And then if I want to get back to the Azure directory, I can simply CD and go back to that directory. So that's a great way to explore through your subscription in Azure using the command line. So next, we're going to take a look at the Azure Cloud Shell persistent storage. So if we take a look at let's take a look at the persistent storage that's available within Azure Cloud Shell. So the first thing I want to take a look at is to see what our home directory is for Azure Cloud Shell. So if we put in the home variable, we see that it's /home/Michael. And if I want to change directory to that, even though I'm in that same directory, I can CD to that location. Now, if I actually want to work within there, I can do a git dash command. And if I want to see what commands I can use with Cloud Drive, I can put in the git dash command and search for that. So you can see you can dismount your drive, you can get the Cloud Drive information, and I'm going to do a git dash Cloud Drive to see what that brings up. So that brings up all the information about our Cloud Drive. So if you need to, say, refresh yourself as far as what storage account and resource group your Cloud Drive is in, this is an easy way to find that piece of information. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to explore that directory. So if I do a directory inside of there, you'll see that it brings up a folder called Cloud Drive. I'm going to go inside that folder, and then inside there, if I do a make dir, it allows me to create a demo directory. And then if I do a cd into that, it allows me to cd into that directory. If we look inside there, we see that there's nothing available inside. Now that we've shown you how to work with these directories, let's actually add some files into our Cloud Shell Cloud Drive. So the easiest way to do that is go up to the taskbar here and choose Upload and Download Files. If I upload and download, that'll actually put those files in the root, and then I need to copy them over into the directory that I want them in. So currently, the easiest way to actually put it into the directory you want is to go to Manage the File Share, which will open up your Azure portal and go into your storage account, or I already have the Azure portal open into my storage account. So if I go into the storage account that has my Cloud Drive, and once that resolves, I'm going to go into Files. You see there's my file share that I created. Notice I have my demo directory, my scripts directory. If I go into demo directory, I choose Upload, and that will allow me to go into File Explorer locally. And let's just say I want to grab a few of these scripts to upload. I can hit the Control key and choose Multiple. Choose Open. Choose Upload. And we see those have uploaded. Now, if we go back over to Azure Cloud Shell, if I put a directory listing is, there you go. You see all those files. And that's a little bit for doing an initial configuration and working within Azure Cloud Shell.